Why do I do this to myself? Hello one, hello all. It's the most rundown ghost of them all, Caspa in the flesh. And it's time for a review of Taylor Swift, Tortured Poets Department. This is the latest album from singer, songwriter, instrumentalist Taylor Swift, teaming up with producer, songwriter Jack Antonoff. And we last heard the two on Midnights, which was in fact, yes, mid. Songwriting was weak. The production really failed to stick the landing, giving us this really tacked on 80s pastiche, which is really old hat on Taylor at this point, that's become really dull and just worn out, as Jack just brings nothing interesting to it, and probably leads to their worst writing yet. And I've seen the criticisms of Taylor, like, oh, she's a bad singer, but that's the thing, she can sing. It's just, she's very inconsistent when it comes to the passion and very inconsistent when it comes to the songwriting, and the production is definitely not holding up or complimenting her at all. And she's pretty much proving to us she mostly has nothing interesting to say. Case in point on the title track, where she talks about this love interest who she's having a conversation with, who just smoked and ate 7 bars of chocolate and said Charlie Puth should be a bigger artist. Regardless of my feelings for Charlie Puth, regardless of my criticisms of Charlie Puth, that man is raking in over 1 million streams and has one of the biggest singles of one of the biggest movie franchises of probably all time. Trust me, he's good. So not only does she run out of interesting things to say, but she also takes everyday things and just tries to make them just so epic and grand and over the top and grandiose. Like on the song Florida, where her and Florence Welch of Florence and the Machine create this track that tries to build an epic narrative about going to Florida. Like how Florida is this paradise upon paradise, and it's just one of the grandest places of all time. And given what's going on there now, like law-wise, I beg to differ. And she's just dropping line after line that is not convincing me that Florida is the getaway. And she's just dropping line after line saying how these are all her regrets, like cheating and drinking, when I'm pretty sure they do that in Florida too. And then dropping these weird bars like, and my friends all smell like weed and little babies. Yeah, I'm sorry, I just can't get with this lyricism here. And I feel the melodrama appears even more, and probably worse, on Who's Afraid of Little Old Me. And I know Taylor has received shit from both sides of the aisle. I would say unjustly by some overall haters, but also I would say by the left, not necessarily hate, but criticism, mostly for her private jets and contributing to air pollution and dating problematic people, which we will get into, which are pretty justifiable criticisms. And then you have the right with conservative shitheads like Charlie Kirk, who are criticizing her for encouraging kids to vote, and how she's unattractive because she's not having kids, and blah, 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 blah. But I feel she just takes it to this very over-the-top melodramatic place where she talks about how she's been shaped into like this supervillain from getting her teeth pulled out and hung in the gallows. I just feel she's doing way too much and creating this superhuman complex, and just comes off really, really silly. And she's just going for that bad girl gimmick that failed miserably on Reputation. And I know I touched on the title track before, but there are some lyrics on there that I do have to go back to, like asking who uses typewriters anyway. Like, typewriters are a thing of the past, but with a quick Google search you could realize they are still up and running. People are still using them. And with this bland, ridiculous, over-the-top writing, yes, it's pretty obvious. You are definitely no Patti Smith. Also, she seems to think she's Lana Del Rey on tracks like Fortnite, which Taylor is really no stranger to. She has bitten Lana Del Rey in the past, even on an album I enjoyed from her like Folklore, where the production for the most part is pretty flavorless, pretty bland, where Jack is really pushing the 80s synth, mostly throughout the album, with these really stiff drums, and Post Malone's airbrushed vocal appearance. And there's also My Boy Only Breaks His Favorite Toys. Probably has one of the most hideous drum mixes on this entire album. They just sound so compressed, so cheap. They sound a mess, and the synths don't really coalesce well at all. And the songs sound bad. It sounds like a failed 80s sci-fi love song with its robotic vocals and little blippy alien-like keys where she's trying to convince you she's from like another world. And while she's trying to convince you of that, they're also trying to convince you that the song So Long London has a big payoff, where she's telling you this epic, tragic love story with its pumping tempo and synths, chilling backing vocals. You'd think it's about to lead to something, just something. But no, it never goes anywhere. I don't think it even knows where it's supposed to go. But it never goes. It's like this ongoing running progression that really leads to nowhere. It's definitely a treadmill of a track. And the song Fresh Out the Slammer, which, my god, could this song be any more washed out? The drums are pretty much buried. The vocals are bricked out, just towering over the production. And also we have But Daddy I Love Him, which is a lyrical pushback to the criticisms she's received for being involved with the 1975 Matt Healy. And given how problematic he is and how he just shoots from the hip, it's definitely a questionable fence and an ick defense. But this is probably one of her most passionate vocal performances on the album. But the issue to me, not only the weird flex, but also how just horribly stacked and layered her vocals are on this track. They're just haphazardly reverbed and mixed, and I'm just like, what is going on here? And the song Guilty as Sin, which I do find enjoyable. I think there's a nice build on here. I think there's a solid hook, some beautiful catchy melodies, and shows Taylor is in definitely a love-struck state, which again pushes on her societal pushback for her being involved with Matt Healy, which again, gross, but does have a lot of strength and passion in this track that I can't deny. And there's also Love of My Life, which has a somber, heartening piano progression as Taylor reflects on this partner who is told and reassured that they were in love, wasn't going anywhere, building plans. And I love the ghostly ascending vocals. And I'm not going to give away the ending, but there is a very clever twist here. We also get another well-written piano ballad, The Smallest Man Who Ever Lived, where she plays into her strengths, which is tearing down toxic men, and you can make criticisms of her not seeing the red flags and just going right past them. But the dramatic string builds and the absolutely scathing lyrics. I would have died for your sins, but I just died inside. And you deserve prison, but you won't get time. You slide into inboxes, slip through the bars. You crashed my party and my rental car. Jesus Christ! This goes to show, when it comes to diss tracks, Taylor has one locked and loaded. And that was just a little bit of the lyrical onslaught. We also have the song I Could Do With a Broken Heart, where I do understand the sentiment, I do appreciate the sentiment of how Taylor is unhappy, overworked, and honestly just wants a break. But the bubbly synths and blippy production, but it just comes off so goofy. And the spoken word ending is weird too, as she says, "Don't come for my job." And the song I Can Fix Him, Really I Can, is just this saloon snoozer where she's basically describing how problematic this guy is. Just a little bit, saying how he told like a joke and people are saying, "Oh, I'm gonna pray for you." And she's like, "Oh no, I can fix him, really I can." But the lyrics here are just so vapid and just go absolutely nowhere. And then it just goes to this conclusion that she maybe can't fix him. It's really one of the most underwritten tracks on the album. And we have the underwritten closer, Clarabelle, which is about a star who struggled with like mental health. As she discusses the praises she receives from fans and how she's so real to them, but it really doesn't lead to anything. It just feels like you just have this supposed theme that doesn't really go much of anywhere. It doesn't really touch on anything. And you could say that this does correlate to the title, but it's just so vapid. It just leaves it to be such an underwhelming finish to the album, which could have been an important statement, just leaves off in an unfulfilling way. So yeah, honestly, this is probably Taylor's weakest album yet. And as I said before, I'm not a Taylor hater. I'm willing to admit when she could have something good going. I'm willing to admit when she has good lyrics. I'm willing to admit when she has good production. But this thing is just, for the most part, very lackluster. The production fails most of the time. Her writing just fails a lot most of the time. And I think it's due to the fact that she's working with Jack Antonoff. And I feel, no disrespect to Jack Antonoff, very talented producer, talented songwriter, has definitely contributed to some of my favorite projects. But I feel they're at a point where they just have to break off. And that's just how I'm feeling on it. Because the writing ain't doing it. The production ain't doing it. And just becomes really stale. I'm feeling a 1.5 out of 5 on this album. But if you've given this a listen, what did you think of it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Why? Am I wrong for this? Am I right for this? And if the Swifties come for me, will you have my back? And that's it. Caspa, Gothic Ghost, Taylor Swift, the Tortured Poets Department. Till we meet again.